She didn't even knock. That woman marched up my cabin porch, pointed at my 15-year-old daughter and barked, "You're coming with us! HOA orders!" My daughter froze, because behind her stood two men, dressed like cops, hands on their belts like they owned the mountain. I stepped outside, calm, too calm, because something was off the moment I saw their badges. They looked shiny, expensive, but wrong, like they came straight from a costume shop. Karen, the so-called HOA president, tilted her head at me and said, "Don't interfere, your kid violated community rules." My kid. On my privately owned land, in the middle of a forest cabin that was never under any HOA. My daughter whispered, "Dad, they said I trespassed." The men stepped forward. Karen smirked like she already won. One of the men even grabbed cuffs and said, "We're detaining her." But they didn't expect me to say in the quietest voice, "Put those cuffs on her, and you answer to me, and you don't want that." Karen laughed. "Oh, please, you can't do anything. These are officers." Her laugh died fast when I added, "That badge on his chest, the number doesn't exist." The fake cop stiffened. Karen blinked. My daughter stepped closer to me. Something shifted in the air. They thought I was just a dad in an old cabin, but they had no idea the real reason we lived out here. No idea what my job had been for the last 20 years. And absolutely no idea why the U.S. Marshals still answer my phone at the first ring.
Karen tried to recover her confidence, but I saw the panic flicker in her eyes. She stepped closer like she wanted to size me up, but her voice shook just enough to expose her fear. "Stop pretending you know anything. This area is under HOA authority now. Your daughter broke our safety code. She has to come with us." Safety code? Out here? The nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. My daughter gripped my sleeve, confused and scared, but I kept my eyes on the fake cops. One of them kept touching his earpiece, except there was nothing in his ear, just skin. No device, no wire, nothing. Why pretend? Why act? Why target my kid? Karen lifted a clipboard that looked printed just minutes ago, pages still warm from a cheap home printer. "See? New HOA boundaries. Your cabin falls inside it now." I didn't move. I didn't even blink, because something else caught my attention. Something far worse. Behind the second fake cop, near the tree line, a black SUV, engine running, no plates. They weren't here for rules. They weren't here for authority. They were here for her. My daughter. And Karen wasn't the one in charge. She was just the loud one standing in front. The real question hit me hard. Who sent them? And how did they know exactly where we were hiding? The wind shifted, carrying the smell of engine fumes from that SUV, and for a moment everything around us felt too still, like the whole forest was holding its breath. My daughter stepped behind me, and I could feel her trembling. She knew something was wrong, something bigger than Karen's nonsense. The second fake cop tapped his badge again, this time harder, almost like he wanted to break the metal off. He kept watching the trees, not me, not Karen. Who was he expecting? Or worse, who was he afraid would show up? Karen finally noticed his shaking hand and hissed, "Just take the girl already, he won't do anything." But her voice didn't have that same arrogant snap anymore. It cracked, like she was trying to convince herself. I took one step forward, slow and steady. Both men flinched. Not back-off flinches, real flinches, like they knew exactly who I could call with one wrong move. But the real punch of fear hit when I heard the faint sound of a radio, not theirs, coming from deep in the woods behind my cabin. A short burst of static, then silence. My daughter whispered, "Dad, someone else is out there." Karen's face turned pale. She whispered something to the taller fake cop, but he shook his head aggressively, eyes fixed on the forest like he already saw something moving. That's when I realized the truth. They weren't confident. They weren't in control. They were running on borrowed time. Someone was watching all of us. Someone who wasn't supposed to be here. someone they desperately didn't want to meet. And then, from the woods, I saw a shadow shift. Tall, fast, silent. Karen gasped, "No, they found us."
Karen's words froze the air. They found us. Not found him, not found the girl. Us. For the first time, her panic wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed behind me, toward the woods. Whatever was out there didn't come for my daughter alone. It came for the people pretending to arrest her. The taller fake cop cursed under his breath and reached for his belt, but instead of a real weapon, he pulled out a plastic-looking stun device, cheap, unreliable, the kind of thing people use when they want to look armed. His hands shook so badly the device almost slipped. I didn't move, but I felt my daughter cling to my back, breathing fast, trying not to cry. I whispered, "Stay close, don't run," because running meant revealing exactly where the shadow in the trees should aim. Karen backed up until her heel hit the porch step. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she muttered. "They said no one else would be here today." "Who?" I asked quietly. She wouldn't answer. Her eyes kept jumping between me, the woods, the SUV, and the fake cops who looked seconds away from bolting. Then the forest broke again. A low crack, like a twig snapping under a heavy boot. A slow shift of branches, something getting closer. The shorter fake cop lost his nerve. "We need to go, now!" He grabbed Karen's arm, but Karen pulled away violently and said, "No, we grab the girl first or they'll think we failed." Failed what? A job? A mission? A sale? Why would anyone care about taking a teenager from a private cabin in the middle of nowhere? The shadow moved again, closer this time, and even I felt a chill run down my spine. Not because I feared it, but because I knew exactly who could move that quietly in a forest. My daughter whispered, "Dad, is that—" I didn't answer, because the truth hit me all at once. They weren't here for some fake HOA nonsense. They weren't even here for my land. They were here because of me, and someone out there already knew my real identity.
Before Karen could spit out another order, the woods fell dead silent. So silent, even the birds cut their calls. The taller, fake cop raised his stun device toward the trees, his wrist trembling like he could barely hold it steady. Then a single voice drifted through the forest. Calm, deep, sharp. "Step away from the girl." Karen spun around so fast she almost tripped. No. They said you were overseas." I felt my stomach twist. So it was him. Only one man I knew could move without making a sound and talk like his words carried authority even in the middle of nowhere. My daughter peeked around me, her breath catching. "Dad, who is that?" The figure stepped out from between the trees, dressed in dark tactical gear that didn't shine, didn't reflect, didn't give anything away. The kind of gear only one unit used. The U.S. Marshals Special Operations Group. My old team. But it wasn't just anyone. It was Ryan Keller, a man who only showed up when something had gone way past normal trouble. If Keller was here, someone had triggered a federal-level alert. Karen staggered backward, shaking her head like she was seeing a ghost. You weren't supposed to know about this." Keller ignored her. His eyes locked on me and my daughter. "You didn't answer your phone," he said quietly. "I didn't hear it." "You should have. We pinged your cabin an hour ago." The fake cops looked at each other, pale and sweating. They weren't just afraid now. They were doomed. Karen clenched her jaw, scrambling for control. "This is illegal. This land is under HOA authority." Keller didn't even blink. He raised his head slightly, listening to something in his earpiece. Then he said the words that made Karen collapse to her knees. "Your operation is over. The real officers are surrounding the entire ridge." My daughter gripped my arm, confused and scared. "Dad, what operation?" I exhaled slowly, because the truth was darker than she knew, and I had prayed she'd never have to hear it.
Karen's scream echoed off the trees as Keller stepped closer, but it wasn't anger. It was fear, pure, shaking fear. She looked at the fake cops like they could help her, but both men were frozen, eyes darting toward the woods as if they were waiting for something worse to appear. My daughter squeezed my hand. "Dad, please tell me what's happening." I opened my mouth, but Keller cut in quietly. "Not here. Not yet." He wasn't being dramatic. Keller never wasted words. If he said not yet, it meant there was still danger moving around us, danger we couldn't see. Karen suddenly lunged toward my daughter, maybe out of panic, maybe out of some last-ditch attempt to finish whatever she came here to do. But Keller moved faster. 1 second she was reaching, the next she was pinned against the porch rail, her arms locked behind her back, and her fake authority crumbling as she screamed, "You don't understand! They'll kill me if I fail!" Kill her? Who? Who could scare her this much? The shorter fake cop bolted toward the SUV, but Keller didn't even turn his head. He won't get far. 1 split second later, the SUV engine died. Lights clicked off, doors locked from the outside. Someone else was out there. Someone who had control over the vehicle's entire electrical system. My daughter whispered, "Dad, are those all Marshals?" I shook my head slowly. No, Marshals don't shut down vehicles remotely. Which meant only one thing. Keller hadn't come alone. He'd brought a joint task force, the kind they deploy when someone targets a federal officer's family. Karen's voice cracked as she cried, "We were just supposed to bring the girl. They said it was safe. They said her father was retired." Keller looked at me, his eyes narrowing. "You didn't tell her." My daughter stared up at me, wide-eyed, her voice trembling. "Tell me what?" I swallowed hard, because the truth I kept buried for years, the truth that put all of this in motion, was finally standing at the door.
My daughter's question hung in the air. But before I could answer, the woods behind Keller shifted again, this time with heavy footsteps, deliberate and slow. Not rushed, not threatening, just confident. Keller stiffened. For the first time today, he looked uneasy, and that alone sent a chill down my spine. A new figure stepped out from the trees, broad shoulders, tactical vest, but with no agency markings at all. His gear was darker than Keller's, built for deep operations that never reached paper. Karen saw him and instantly broke down. She dropped to the ground, shaking her head violently. "No, no, not him. They promised he wasn't involved." The man ignored her. He walked right up to me, eyes sharp, calculating, almost proud. And then he said something I never expected to hear again. "Hello, brother." My daughter's grip tightened like her fingers were digging into my skin. "Brother? Dad, what does he mean?" Keller stepped between us, voice steady but tense. "He doesn't mean blood." He looked at me, jaw clenched. "He means the program." My stomach dropped. The program. The one I never wanted my daughter to know about. The one I thought I'd left behind. The one people kill to protect. The man smirked. "You really thought you could disappear? Go play cabin in the woods, Dad? You were our best asset, and you walked away." My daughter stared at me, horrified. "Dad, what was your job?" I finally spoke, not looking at the man, not looking at Keller, just at her. I wasn't just a marshal. I was part of a unit that never officially existed. The man chuckled. "And now, we need your daughter." Keller instantly raised his weapon. "You're not taking her." The man didn't even blink. "Oh, Keller, you still think this is your jurisdiction?" He snapped his fingers. From deeper in the forest, 5 more shadows moved into view. Not marshals, not police, not fakes. Operatives.
from the same program I abandoned. My daughter's voice cracked. "Dad, why do they want me?" The man smiled, a cold, knowing smile. "Because she's the only leverage strong enough to bring you back." And that was the twist that hit harder than anything else. They never came for her, not really. They came for me, because I'm the last piece of a project they refused to let die. The moment those operatives stepped out of the trees, something inside me clicked. Not fear, not panic, something older. Something I promised myself I'd never use again. I pushed my daughter gently behind Keller and stepped forward. The man who called himself my brother smirked like he'd already won. "You're coming with us. Don't make this messy." But he forgot one thing. I didn't survive the program by luck, and I didn't walk away without leaving a few safeguards. I raised my voice just loud enough for the forest to hear. Protocol 7. The reaction was instant. Keller straightened like a soldier hearing a forgotten command. The operatives froze mid-step. Even my brother stopped breathing for half a second. Protocol 7 wasn't a command. It was a shutdown code. Something we created years ago in case the program ever went rogue. And clearly, it had. A second later, the whole ridge lit up. Red beams dancing through the trees, footsteps surrounding the area, and real U.S. Marshals emerging from every direction. Dozens of them, fully armed, fully authorized, and very, very aware of who I used to be. Karen screamed as agents cuffed her. The fake cops dropped to their knees. The operatives didn't even try to fight. They knew better. My brother tried to run. Didn't make it 3 steps. A marshal slammed him into the dirt, pinning him hard. Keller walked up to me slowly, eyes steady. "You finally used the code." I looked at my daughter, who was staring at the scene like she was watching a nightmare unwind into morning light. "I used it for her," I said. "I'll always use it for her." She ran into my arms, shaking, crying not from fear anymore, but from relief. "I thought they were going to take me." I held her tight. "No one touches you, not while I'm here, not ever." Keller placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're officially off the grid now. Clean slate, new protections, the kind that don't fail." I nodded, grateful in a way I couldn't put into words. As the marshals escorted the arrested operatives down the mountain and the last siren faded into the distance, the forest felt peaceful again, like it was ours, like it was safe. My daughter wiped her eyes and whispered, "So, are we free?" I smiled for the first time that day. Yeah, we're free. And for once, my past didn't come back to destroy us. It came back to protect us. Even after the marshals secured the ridge, I knew we weren't completely safe yet. Someone had tried to reach my daughter, and that meant our enemies were still watching, still calculating. Keller approached me quietly. "They won't stop just because we clean this up today," he said. I nodded. "I know. That's why we need to vanish completely. No trails, no signals, nothing." My daughter looked up at me, eyes wide. "Vanish? You mean move?" "Yes," I said softly, "but not just anywhere. Somewhere they can't find us. Somewhere our past doesn't matter." Keller smiled faintly. "You've got one last trick left, don't you?" I did. Something I had kept buried for years. A protocol no one else could touch. It was time. I dialed a secure line only a handful of people in the country could reach. Within minutes, we had new identities, new locations, and even a backup marshal detail in case anyone tried to follow. Karen, the fake cops, and my rogue brother were all being escorted down the mountain in handcuffs, and I made sure of one thing. Anyone who tried to touch my family ever again would answer to the full force of the law. My daughter grabbed my hand. "Dad, does this mean it's really over?"
I looked around at the forest, the cabin, and the rising sun painting the trees gold. For now, yes, but always remember, you are never alone, and you are always protected. She smiled through tears. Promise me we'll never have to run again. I pulled her into a hug. Promise. From now on, we live. We're free, and no one touches our family again. For the first time that week, the forest felt like ours again, safe, quiet, and untouchable. And deep down I knew one thing: no fake badge, no corrupt HOA, no rogue program operative could ever break the bond I had with my daughter or the shield I had built around our family. We were free, truly free.